Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be reading SCP-701, which happens to be a nice, creepy play that has people going over and hurting each other and possibly themselves, which also leads us to a disclaimer. Please, if you guys do not want to listen to people committing suicide or hurting other people, please just don't listen any further to this. This video is going to be, by the way, a three-parter, which will start with the SCP article, SCP-701. Then we'll be moving into the play, and we're going to be listening and reading to the whole entire play. Not only that, but then we're going to move into an incident report, which basically shows you what actually happens in person during said event. So I hope you guys have an amazing, awesome day, regardless if you stay here or not. See ya in the video. Also, I do want to let you know, I was sick in the middle of making this content, but because of the fact that I am in between jobs, seasonal job sort of situation, I'm off for a month. So, want to use as much time physically as I physically possibly can, okay? So, regardless if I'm sick or not, I was trying to record stuff. So, it might be a little nasally in there. Item number, SCP-701. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. All materials relating to SCP-701 are to be kept in a triple-lock archive at storage site blank. These items currently consist of 2 currently extant copies of the 1640 Quarto, 27 copies of the 1965 trade paperback edition, 10 copies of the 1971 hardcover printing, 21 floppy diskettes consisting of data seized on raids on data expunged, 1 VHS tape, cassette tape designated SCP-701-19-A, and 1 steel knife of unknown origin designated SCP-701-19-B. At no time are any of these items to be removed from the room. Access to the area is to be heavily monitored. Absolutely no personnel whatsoever are to be granted access to the archive without the expressed in permission of Doctors L, R, and J. Description: SCP-701, otherwise known as the Hanged King's Tragedy, is a Carolina revenge tragedy in 5 acts. Performances of the play are associated with sudden psychotic and suicidal behavior among both observers and participants, as well as the manifestation of a mysterious figure, classified as SCP-701-1. While performances of the Hanged King's Tragedy do not always end in an outbreak, of the blank recorded performances, only blank, otherwise it would be 36.78%, have ended in SCP-701 events. According to historical records and investigations, these outbreaks generally follow the same pattern. 1 to 2 weeks, or 7 to 14 days prior to the event, during the dress rehearsal period, cast members will begin to spontaneously deviate from the published text of the play. Rather than improvisation or gaffes associated with going off script, said deviations will be both orderly and consistent, as if the actors were working off a new version of the script. The cast and production crew will seem unaware of any change, and if it is brought to their attention, will state that the play has run like that since the very beginning. 2 to 3 hours prior to the event, the outbreak generally occurs during opening night, or else at the production with the greatest plane attendance, generally falling within the first week after the play's opening. 1 to 2 hours before the event, SCP-701-1 begins to appear on the stage in the final scene of Act 1, generally in the background or to the side of the main action. It may seem to enter or exit the stage area, but does not appear to ever enter the backstage or offstage area. It simply disappears when not on stage. The cast does not appear to notice or comment on SCP-701-1, at least at first. The event. SCP-701-1 appears fully on stage during the banquet scene of Act 5. Here, it will be incorporated into the action of the play as the quote-unquote Hanged King. The cast will either murder each other or commit suicide, sometimes using items that seem to appear spontaneously on stage. Rioting breaks out in the audience, with viewers randomly attacking anyone in front of them, regardless of prior relationship. Following the event, If any of the audience members survive the initial outbreak, they may exit the performance space, in which case they will continue to engage in random or opportunistic violence. Victims will generally require sedation or restraint in this scenario. Normal personality will begin to return roughly 24 hours after the event. Surviving victims will generally exhibit signs consistent with a traumatic experience. Some will have no recollection of the event. Others may be rendered permanently comatose or psychotic. For a typical case study of an outbreak, see Incident Report SCP-701-19-1. An analysis of the events leading up to the last uncontained SCP-701 event in 19 blank during a high school drama performance in blank blank. For more information on the play's published text, see document SCP-701-1640-B1. In short, SCP-701 is a self-evolving mimetic virus, transmitted through unknown means through the text of the play. Dr. L has theorized that SCP-701 events may involve expunged. This hypothesis is consistent with the spike in blank blank levels detected via satellite in the vicinity of the 19 blank incident, indicating expunged. Foundation agents are under standing orders to suppress any performance or publication of SCP-701 when found or detected. Despite our best efforts to the contrary, however, the play remains freely available online, sometimes under different titles. All attempts to detect or isolate the origin of these copies have failed. Suppression of the play's publication has generally been successful, with most copies of the 1971 scholarly edition being destroyed before distribution. Nonetheless, copies of the 1965 trade paperback have turned up with some regularity in both college and high school libraries. Agents are to obtain or otherwise destroy these items whenever possible. History. The first known publication of the Hanged King's tragedy was a quarto dated 1640. The play's author is not listed. The publisher, one William Cook, disappeared from the historical records soon thereafter. Strangely, the text does not appear in the stationer's register. The first known SCP-701 event on record occurred in 18 blank during a performance of the play in blank blank USA. Other significant incidents include the 19 blank performance in a small theater in blank blank, the 1964 performance at the University of blank 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 blank, the 19 blank performance at blank University, which was the first SCP-701 event successfully suppressed by the Foundation, the 19 blank performance by a student group in blank California, and the 19 blank television adaptation by the blank Broadcasting Corporation. Production successfully was shut down by the Foundation before broadcast. And the 19 blank incident in blank Ohio, USA, designated SCP-701-19 blank 1. Publication history. There are multiple copies. This is going to be a list of all of them. The first being the original 1640 quarto. All known copies are in Foundation custody. The 1733 Folio edition, which was republished in 1790. There is an 1813 Cambridge University Press edition, 1965 trade paperback edition, and last but not least, the 1971 hardcover edition. Agents should note that copies of the play have often been misfiled under different titles or spellings of the title. Furthermore, photocopies of the 1965 text have been found in circulation throughout college theater departments in the continental United States and in the United Kingdom. Additional. Given the high probability of expunged in my mind, I again recommend that SCP-701 be upgraded to Keter class. The SCP-701 mimetic virus may very well be the forefront of an invasion scenario. Furthermore, expunged. That was a thing that Dr. L wrote towards the end. There is a response. Denied. None of the current information we have on SCP-701 indicates an XK class scenario. Until we have additional data, classification will remain at Euclid. Face facts, Doctor. The cat's been long out of the bag in this one. And in this line of business, we consider ourselves lucky if we only lose 100 or so people every 10 years. O5 blank. Now that we have completed the article, we're going to be moving on to the play. Just an FYI with this play, the people are Italian. So, unfortunately, in regards to that, I am not Italian, full-blooded American. So I will try my best to read like the names properly, but I make absolutely no promises. Document SCP-701-1640-B1. This is the following summary of a published text of the Hanged King's Tragedy, classified as SCP-701, prepared by Dr. J. Blank, from a copy of the 1640 Quarto in Foundation custody. Dramatis Personae. By the way, Dramatis Personae means that I'm going into the cast list. Who are all the people that are going to be in this play? Gonzalo, King of Trinculio. Isabella, Queen of Trinculio, formerly the wife of Sifrosa, the murdered king, now married to Gonzalo. Antonio, a minor noble. Francisco, Antonio's servant. The Duke of Sorrento. Eladina, daughter of the Duke. Petruchio, a noble allied with Gonzalo. Lodovicio, a servant of Gonzalo. Cornari, a priest. Beatrice, a servant of the queen. A courtesan, a palace guardsman, the ambassador of Milan, the ambassador of Florence, and last but not least, the ambassador of Alaggada. Setting. The play is set in the kingdom of Trinculio, probably misspelling of Trincaria, another name for Sicily, in the capital of Serico, another name for the city of Syracuse. As the play opens, Sifrosa, the king of Trinculio, has died, supposedly from natural causes while on retreat from the court. The nobility of Trinculio gathers in the capital for the coronation of the new king, Sifrosa's younger brother, Gonzalo, who was also married to Sifrosa's queen, Isabella. Despite the text's references to the contemporary Italian city-states, such as Florence and Milan, much of this play's setting is obviously pure fantasy. There were never any kings of Sicily comparable to Gonzalo and Sifrosa, and the capital of the historical kingdom of Sicily was Palermo, not Syracuse. The author may have chosen to move the play's events to Syracuse due to the city's historical association with tyranny. There's also no record of any country or place known by the name of Alaggada, a mysterious but apparently powerful state that plays a significant role in the plot. It may be intended to be a reference to one of the Muslim states or cities on the Mediterranean coast, such as Tunis or Algiers. Plot summary. The plot of The Hanged King's Tragedy bears a marked resemblance to many earlier plays of the same genre, including Shakespeare's Hamlet and Titus Erroneous. In fact, past investigations to SCP-701 events have noted that The Hanged King's Tragedy was often chosen for production as a less violent alternative to the two plays mentioned. The two murders in SCP-701 text can be construed as occurring off-stage, and the implication of cannibalism in Act 3 can be easily cut from the script. Act 1. The play opens during Gonzalo's coronation. Gonzalo opens with a toast to the assembled nobility, then departs from the stage. Drunk on wine, Isabella confesses to some of the courtiers left on the stage that Sifrosa did not die in his sleep as reported. Instead, while on retreat in the countryside, Sifrosa was fed a sleeping potion by Isabella, then murdered by Gonzalo and his supporters. As a show of final disrespect, the conspirators hang the king like a common criminal from a tree. Isabella goes on to proclaim that Antonio, a minor noble visiting the king's court for the first time, is actually her and Sifrosa's son, and the rightful heir to the throne. Isabella collapses and is taken off stage by her servants. Francisco asks Antonio if he believes the queen's story. Antonio makes light of the situation, and they exit. Back to Antonio's lodgings, Francisco attempts to barter with a courtesan. Antonio enters the stage, clearly in shock. He reports that, while offstage, he saw the ghost of Sifrosa, who confirmed Antonio's parentage and the queen's description of his death. Act 2. Gonzalo, having learned of Isabella's confession, consults with his fellow conspirators. Ludovicio confirms that at least 3 people witnessed the queen's breakdown: the Duke of Sorrento, his daughter Alaggada, and a priest named Coronari. Gonzalo immediately begins to plan the murder or capture of the 3 in order to cover up the truth. He orders Isabella to be locked up in a convent, with the story put out that the queen is mad. Isabella, uncharacteristically, meekly accepts Gonzalo's judgment. The usurper then exits, having an appointment with the ambassador from Alaggada. Back in their lodgings in the city, Francisco brings Antonio news of the queen's imprisonment. Together, they plan their revenge. Act 3. Petruchio and Gonzalo invite Sorrento to dinner. They kill him and order the palace cooks to prepare the corpse as a stew. Gonzalo orders Alaggada, who witnessed the murder, to be locked up in the convent. Antonio fakes insanity in order to gain admittance to the convent. Warned of Antonio's coming, Isabella and her loyal servant Beatrice prepare to murder him using a draught of poison. Antonio sees through their plan and forces Isabella to drink the poison, killing her. Meanwhile, Francisco gets lost within the convent and winds up freeing Alaggada from her cell by accident. Act 4. In the palace, Gonzalo reports to Ludovicio that he has, in exchange for an unstated tribute, obtained a powerful and tasteless poison from the ambassador of Alaggada. Gonzalo plans to poison the stew made from the Duke of Sorrento's corpse and feed it to the court, thus ensuring the suppression of the truth. Ludovicio leaves the stage to carry out the usurper's plans. Gonzalo then has a brief moment of conscience. In a soliloquy, he describes the regret he carries for his sins, but nonetheless is unable to deviate from the path he has set. Meanwhile, Francisco introduces Alaggada to Antonio. All 3 having escaped the convent, Alaggada describes her father's murder in grisly terms. Antonio promises to marry her and make her his queen as soon as his revenge is complete, and then leaves to obtain a blade with which he plans to kill Gonzalo. There also is a comedic interlude between a palace guard and Coronari, a buffoonish priest. At the end of the scene, Ludovicio enters and bids Coronari to follow him. The priest is no longer seen on stage again. Act 5. The guests arrive at Gonzalo's banquet. Gonzalo once again offers a toast, this time to the ambassador of the foreign nations who are present. The meal is served. However, before it can begin, Antonio enters, bearing a signed confession he obtained from Petruchio off stage, which includes the details of Sifrosa's murder and proof of Antonio's lineage. Gonzalo is deposed by the outraged courtiers. Rather than murder him, however, Antonio instead decides to spare the usurper and let him escape exile to a monastery. He then orders Francisco to start making plans for his marriage to Alaggada. The play ends with a dance staged by the courtiers. SCP-701 events. The produced form of the play that occurs during SCP-701 events contains several deviations from the text as published. For a typical case example of these deviations, see Incident Report SCP-701-1997-1. By the way, the reason why I'm saying SCP-701-1971, even though some of you probably don't even know what I'm talking about, is due to the fact that once you finally click into the Incident Report on the web search, it will have 1997 not really dash, but 1997-1. For those of you who don't know, when I go over and I say SCP-701-19-1, that's what it is. So now we are going into the Incident Report. Incident Report. SCP-701-1997-1. SCP involved, SCP-701. Date, blank blank 1997. Location expunged. By the way, I would like to preface with all of this that towards the end of the article of SCP-701, it does basically say that the state was Ohio. So, whatever it was, it occurred in 1997 in an Ohio high school. Report prepared by Drs. R and J on the content of SCP-701-1971-A. SCP-701-1971-A is a 187mm by 103mm by 25mm SVHS video cassette tape, recovered by investigators on the scene of the incident. A performance of SCP-701 at blank high school in Ohio. The tape was found in a destroyed consumer-grade camcorder, which was apparently recording the performance from a vantage point within the audience. It is the only surviving record of the event. Please see SCP-701 archives for the full transcript of the recording. In order to compare the identified deviations during SCP-701 events with the actual plot of the published text, see the document that we just read previously, which was the play. Time, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Tape begins. 3 minutes, 10 seconds. House lights go down. 5 minutes, 12 seconds. Curtain rises. The play begins as published with Gonzalo's coronation. 10 minutes, 21 seconds. A possible sighting of SCP-701 during Isabella's ravings. An anomalous shadow, not belonging to one of the cast members, shows up along the back wall of the set. 10 minutes, 24 seconds. Shadow disappears. 23 minutes, 15 seconds. First deviation from the text. Rather than the dialogue between Francisco and the courtesan, the curtain drops and comes back up on a bare stage. Antonio enters from stage right. 23 minutes, 24 seconds. First indirect sighting of SCP-701-1. The shadow of a figure seems to appear on the back wall from stage right. Antonio stops in place and acts surprised. The shadow disappears. Antonio begins a long soliloquy, confirming that he now believes Isabella's stories. 23 minutes, 24 seconds. First indirect sighting of SCP-701-1. The shadow of a figure seems to appear on the back of the wall from stage right. Antonio stops in place and acts surprised. The shadow disappears. Antonio begins a long soliloquy, confirming that he now believes Isabella's stories. Dr. J notes that while this soliloquy is in the style of the rest of the play, and does seem to be accurate to Carolina-era revenge dialogue, Antonio's speech in this scene does not exist in the original text. 24 minutes, 12 seconds. Curtain drops. 24 minutes, 51 seconds. Curtain rises on Francisco and the courtesan. Antonio returns. The play continues as scripted. 31 minutes, 14 seconds. First direct sighting of SCP-701. It enters and stands at the edge of the stage, left towards the end of Act 2, Scene 1. 32 minutes, 17 seconds. Gonzalo's dialogue concludes, as scripted, with a mention of an appointment with the ambassador of Alaggada. He exits, stage left. SCP-701-1 seems to turn and follow him as the lights go down. 38 minutes, 13 seconds. Second sighting of SCP-701-1 during Act 3, Scene 1. It appears on the edge of the stage right as Gonzalo and Petruchio murder Sorrento. The scene concludes as Gonzalo orders his cooks to prepare the corpse as a stew. Scripts recovered from the scene indicate that this section had been cut in rehearsal. 51 minutes, 11 seconds. Third sighting of SCP-701-1. Appears close to stage left as Antonio kills Isabella. 1 hour, 9 minutes, 12 seconds. Fourth sighting, SCP-701 enters with Gonzalo at the beginning of Act 4, Scene 1, and follows him throughout the scene. The scene also contains 2 key moments First, Gonzalo seems to nod at SCP-7011 when he mentions the ambassador of Alaggada. This is the first time a cast member has seemed to indicate SCP-7011's presence. Second, the scene ends with a deviation from the text. Whereas the script speech at the end of Act 4, Scene 1 ends with Gonzalo considering his own moral iniquity, Gonzalo seems to be more concerned with that his tribute will be sufficient for the ambassador. The lights go down. 1 hour, 21 minutes, 15 seconds. Fifth sighting. SCP-7011 enters left at the end of Act 4, Scene 2, as Antonio leaves to secure a blade for his coup. Rather than exiting, Antonio stops in front of SCP-7011, who hands him a long dagger. This is believed to be the first appearance of the item classified as SCP-701-1997-B. Note that there is no mention of the item in the prop list or in other records maintained by the production. SCP-7011 and Antonio depart from the stage together. 1 hour, 32 minutes, 41 seconds. Sixth sighting. SCP-7011 appears on stage left as Cornari and Ludoviciu exit. 1 hour, 40 minutes, 52 seconds. Antonio enters, bearing a piece of parchment. Here, the textual deviations begin in earnest. Rather than the parchment being Patricio's confession as scripted, Antonio instead describes it as an invoice from the ambassador of Alaggada, proving that Gonzalo owes more tribute than he intends to pay. 1 hour, 41 minutes, 42 seconds. SCP-7011 enters at this point from stage right. The entire cast seems to perceive it. Gonzalo stands up, curses and is an aside to the audience, and runs to stage left. The rest of the cast, including Alaggada and Francisco, who enter from stage left, physically restrain Gonzalo and drag him back onto the stage. SCP-7011, meanwhile, moves to the center of the stage, where it stands in front of Gonzalo's throne. 1 hour, 43 minutes, 8 seconds. A noose is dropped onto the stage from above. The cast force Gonzalo into the noose as he begins to curse in Italian and, in one place, possibly Latin. The noose is drawn taut, and the cast drops Gonzalo. He begins to asphyxiate. 1 hour, 43 minutes, 32 seconds. Antonio speaks. With this, the tribute, in full it is paid. The actor takes SCP-701-1997-B, the dagger, and draws it across Gonzalo's stomach, spilling his intestines across the stage. 1 hour, 44 minutes, 4 seconds. Alaggada takes the dagger from Antonio. She speaks, with this fool's blood, it is the hanged king's. She cuts Antonio's throat. 1 hour, 45 minutes, 31 seconds. Ropes drop from the roof of the stage, a noose for each cast member. The cast assembles underneath them. Alaggada takes position next to SCP-7011. 1 hour, 46 minutes, 12 seconds. Alaggada says, with this, our blood, it is the hanged king's. The cast hang themselves. 1 hour, 47 minutes, 33 seconds. SCP-7011 moves through the hanging corpses and to the front of center stage. 1 hour, 47 minutes, 41 seconds. The stage lights cut out. 1 hour, 47 minutes, 46 seconds. Sounds of screaming and physical violence all around the camera. 1 hour, 48 minutes, 22 seconds. A loud sound, most likely the camera being knocked over. 1 hour, 49 minutes, 1 second. The camera is destroyed. The tape ends. Well, sadly, it is the end of this video. Like I said, I hope you guys have an amazing night, day, whatever it is.